Hi, this is Tux Taco for SafeTV904, which is our YouTube channel for safety first, CPR, and safety training. Here we are at the American Red Cross Volunteer Lifesaving Course here at Jack's Beach. And we have one of the lieutenants here. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us why is it so important for safety for you guys here on this Labor Day?
Sure, yeah. My name is Lieutenant Tim Klein with the American Red Cross Volunteer Lifesaving Corps. And Labor Day, just like any other day, is a big time for people to come down to the beach. Obviously, with it being a 3-day weekend and a holiday season, it's kind of everyone's last chance to get to the beach with the good weather, and we had a relatively early Labor Day, so we're having even more crowds come down. Safety is a huge deal, specifically coming to water safety, because we've had a couple storms kicking up the sandbars, and we're having these runouts just kind of pop up, and they'll pop up 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then they'll kind of shift down. The tide has also been coming in for a majority of the day. So by the time the people get here, they're kind of packed in like sardines. As it starts going out, those runouts get a little bit more intense, and then the people start to spread out and get a little too comfortable in the water. So the biggest thing for us is just paying attention. Luckily, our lifeguards are trained to identify what a runout looks like, and they have the vantage point of being about 10, 15 feet above the water. So when they're whistling at people and trying to guide them in and out of certain areas, that's because they're noticing a possibility of a runout forming. So we always suggest if the lifeguard comes and whistles at you, or if the truck comes and talks to you, just take it as a sign of precaution, follow it, and kind of go where they tell you.
Okay, so recently you all have been here, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been here for over 100 years, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And for what I can see up there, we've got one of your lifeguards looking out over the entire beach. Now, why is this such a perfect vantage point for you guys here at this part of the beach?
Sure, we've been volunteering in Jacksonville beaches from every Sunday and national holiday since 1912, and at 7 o'clock every day we have a guy up on Sundays and national holidays. We have a guy up on what we call our peg. He just kind of gets the initial feel for what the beach is. He's about 40, 50 feet up in the air there, and he's got binoculars, so he can actually scan all the way down to the county line and see well into Neptune and even Atlantic Beach with binoculars. He'll be sitting up there till about 9, being the only guy guarding the beach, and anywhere between 9 and 10 we'll put the rest of our guard out. Once the rest of our guard gets out, he's more responsible for relaying any communication and the need for backup. And we have guys that are placed staggered throughout the beach, and we give them just enough space to where they can overlap while watching each other's waters, while still being able to give enough focus and attention to the people in front of them.
Okay, so from my experiences, I've been in aquatic safety for 20 years and only been a pool guard. This is totally different. Now explain to our SafeTV904 audience why this is totally different from the pool and why it's not just looking for water. What are some signs that your lifeguards look for when people are in distress, or they may become distressed, and also explain what the flags are for?
Sure. So we'll start off with the flags. Our conditions flags, we have green, yellow, red, and purple. Green is no hazards. We very, very, very rarely ever fly that. Yellow is pretty much our standard because there's always a little bit of hazards out there, especially with Jack's Beach and not having a solid bottom. We have that sandbar, so runout's kind of popping out. So we normally fly the yellow. Certain days we'll fly red when the conditions call for it, which means it's a little bit of a stronger hazard, and if you're not super comfortable in the water, you should definitely stay very close to shore or directly in front of a lifeguard at least. Purple is for dangerous marine life, and a lot of time we'll fly that if there's an influx of jellyfish, if for whatever reason we're getting, anything for that matter, sea lice, all that kind of stuff. Then we also have the flags on the lifeguard towers. The flags on the lifeguard towers are our backup communication system. We use a radio to call in for backup if the guard's going out in the water, but if for whatever reason the radio communication doesn't get through to the station, they can drop their flag. When they drop their flag, the tower either north or south of them, whichever one's closer to the station, will stand up and then hold their flag at a 45-degree angle, and that'll go all the way down the beach until someone is able to radio in and get backup to come that way. So those are the big things. The difference in lifeguarding from a pool and a beach and the ocean is really just a matter of how we go about doing our business. We need to be a little bit more comfortable with changing conditions. The pool's a pretty static environment. Now granted, there's a lot of people in the pool, and sometimes they can get crowded like sardines. The one thing you do see in the pool, though, is usually people are paying attention. So if someone's going off, they'll wave frantically or something along the lines to get the lifeguard's attention. For us, we have so much beach to cover and so much ocean that's going on that, especially on these medium surf days where people can get lost behind waves, our guards really got to pay attention. So they're watching and they're doing dry land observations too. They're trying to figure out if you're walking in the water, are you picking up your feet above the waves, are you letting the wave just hit you, or are you ducking under it, and just kind of see initially, do you seem comfortable in the water, and that's something they'll pick up on. They'll watch your first couple of strokes to see if you're a strong swimmer, so on and so forth. And they'll also see if you're able to identify some of the dangers that we're able to identify, where you're going in the water, are you paying attention to your children, so on and so forth. So it's just a little bit of a different environment, and yeah.
Okay, and then last thing, for being Labor Day and people coming out to the beach, what are some safety tips that you would recommend to folks that are, coming on to one of the busiest days of the year?
Sure. Yeah, our biggest suggestion is parents with children pay close attention. The beach gets super crowded. 4th of July, Labor Day, so a lot of these real big holidays, it gets a lot more crowded than you think, and it's really hard for a kid who's sitting at 2 or 3 feet in this grown-up world to identify their parent. And then once they get lost even a little bit, then they just start wandering, trying to find the parent. And we've had children go as far as 2 miles from their parent without even realizing that they haven't found them. We're usually able to track them down. Actually, we've always been able to track them down. And if we can't, within the first 10-15 minutes, we'll usually get the police involved, and then they'll bring their resources down, and we kind of work as a community to help track that child down. So that's our biggest tip. And the other one for adults that are non-parents coming down here is try not to get intoxicated. As much of an appeal as it is to come to the beach and drink, it's hot. It's really hot. You're going to be sweating. Alcohol inevitably is going to dehydrate you. So if you're going to come to the beach, bring a gallon or 2 of water. Hydration is the biggest thing. We see heat-related injuries all the time, and it's a lot of times preventable and avoidable. Other than that, if you have any other health conditions that you're aware of and you know the heat can aggravate them, just be cognizant of that. And I know it's, you still come to the beach, just maybe come later in the afternoon or earlier in the morning, kind of whatever fits your schedule. And everybody wants to come out and hang out, and that's perfectly fine, and we totally encourage that. However, you got to be safe about when you do it.
Okay, and then one last part about the safety tip is the water itself. Why should everyone be cognizant about their surroundings? What's so important about that?
Sure, that's what we kept talking about so far, and this has been runouts, and that's one of those things that pop out of nowhere. And if you're not cognizant of what's going on in your surroundings, if you see you're the only person swimming in the area, or if you hear the lifeguard whistling at you and pointing you away from a different direction, that's because they're able to identify a runout forming. And basically what that is a break in a sandbar. So as all the water starts to rush out back to sea, it goes right through the path of least resistance, which ends up being that break in the sandbar. So when you start swimming against that and all the water's rushing towards you, it's almost like you're swimming against a treadmill. You're really not going to make very much progression, and if you're not super comfortable in the water, it's going to tire you out, and that's where we actually see a lot of any kind of drowning, whether it's a fatal or non-fatal drowning. So if you get that point where you're swimming in the shore and you're just not making any progress, and you feel yourself not making any progress, swim parallel with the shore, with the current if you can identify it, swim about 15-20 feet at least outside of the run out, and then start to turn around and swim in. The other thing is, if you do catch yourself to where you're not making any progress, you're starting to feel frantic, do your best to calm down and float. You can always get a big breath of air and float above the water. That gives yourself time to kind of relax, recover, and then, if nothing else, you can start waving for help and identify, and other people, especially the lifeguard, will be able to identify that and come out and help you.
Okay. Lieutenant, I cannot tell you how appreciative I am of you just taking your time out of this start of this busy Labor Day weekend here in 2014 here at Jack's Beach. So again, this is Tech Stalker for the Lieutenant here at Jack's Beach for SafeTV904, our YouTube channel for Safety First CPR and Safety Training. Okay, Lieutenant, go ahead and wave to our audience. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Thanks.